the Shout Out Show. Hope you're having an excellent weekend. Oh, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Hope you're having a great weekend. You're not a great weekend. I mean, a great week. Wednesday is always hump day. Maybe I'm looking forward. We have a pretty interesting show today. I hope you guys are going to tune in. I'm going to give a shout out to our Shout Out Show family, of course, and make sure that they are in the house. I know the big thing this week is watching the DNC, and I have some thoughts on the DNC, and I'm going to share them here on the show. I'll be honest with you, I really didn't watch the Republican National Convention. Just as a habit, I have an allergy to BS dressed up as patriotism. So I really didn't watch them, and I didn't watch them because I could have watched what they did last year. It's not a really big script change, if you know what I mean. The only thing is you had people in the wake of an election that was lost by Donald Trump who basically acted out their fantasies. They acted out what they thought they could do, but these are memories and emotions from 30, 40, 50 years ago. These are culturally, emotionally, and spiritually repressed people who are giving a voting platform of which they can exercise, if you will, not exercise, but exercise their demons in the context of the fact that democracy does not look like them, in the context that diversity for them is not diversity at all. It's a very monochromatic description, and I want to say expression, if you will. And even watching the DMC, I have some concerns. There are a lot of concerns. I'm going to just put them out on here in a shout out show. I have a lot of concerns going into this election. We have Kamala Harris, who is the Democratic nominee. I have questions about her. I've always had questions about Donald Trump. So I don't want people to think that I'm bashing Kamala Harris, or I'm bashing Jill Stein, or I'm bashing Donald Trump even. It is a realization that I've come to over the last two elections that says that American democracy is teetering on the brink of becoming even more irrelevant than it actually is. That the stories that my grandfather told me, the stories that my grandmother told me, and they weren't stories about America being a great place, because in their experience and their lifespan, America's was not a decent place. It was a better place for their children. And for my father, it was a better place for me. But it doesn't come by the fact that the core or the mandate for, let's just say, this common decency does not lead our leadership. And as we watch all the speeches, I'm going to get into them as well, watch all the speeches and the rah-rah, it rings hollow. It rings extremely hollow. And that becomes the profundity and the dilemma about voting for people and voting for situations where there is no vision. You're voting for people. You're protesting for things that here in your country, we can't get them here in our country. It's like the soldier, the black soldier who goes overseas and he fights for his country and he risks his life and he comes back here only to be hanged in his uniform. We're talking about, Black Wall Street and Tulsa. We're talking about the magnitude, if you will, that people forget that this is the country of amnesiacs. And the worst part about it is the learned people, the wise people, the griots in our midst, if you will, are somehow minimized as folks who are liars because they can't tell the truth in the midst of all of this misinformation. We live, brothers and sisters, in a culture now of misinformation. There are businesses, and I've seen them, there are businesses that lend themselves to making sure that you don't get the truth. AI has now been used to view these things. Don't fool yourself about AI. Just the whole idea of misinformation has been out there a long time. AI just meant you could produce it faster. And even with that being said, the question is, preachers, there hope? Do we really have hope in this situation? The answer is, damn, dude, I wish we did, but I just don't know. This is Shout Out Show with Preacher Mars. We're going to get our show started. Don't move. We'll be right back. All right, assalamu alaikum. We're back. Let me give some shout out and some love to our Shout Out Show family. We got Sister Ree. How you doing, Sister Ree? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So good to hear from you. Everybody make dua for Sister Ree. She's had some health issues. We hope she's going to pull it together. That's our sister, one of our day ones from the Shout Out Show. Big sis, we're hoping that you're going to be feeling better. Shout out, of course, to Derek and Juwan. Of course, we have Brother Altaf Rashid. Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, my dear brother. Our Canadian envoy to the show, we call him Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. Always in the queue. When we sign on, that brother's in the queue, man. We appreciate you and thank you so much for your support. And we have Permissible Laughter. Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We have our illustrious executive producer, Sister Satana Whitfield, who, just so you know, is responsible for the background behind me. Shout out. We're going to be in ISNA. At ISNA in Dallas, Hilton Anatole in Dallas for the ISNA convention. This is the third annual Preacher Mars Muslim Comedy Festival. Hope you guys are going to make it out. We're very excited. For one, we're motivated. For two, we got some sponsors. But for three, we were organized on the Permissible Laughter side of the game, the Shout Out Show side of the game. And it feels good when you really, really organize. And all praises due to Allah as I talk about it. But all praises due to Allah for helping us get organized. I want to give a shout out to my big brother, Bilal Salahuddin. Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And your queen, Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin. They just had recently just had our anniversary. What an anniversary, 20 years. Shout out to you, big brother, doing big things. Thanks so much for joining the show. Our show today is a funny thing happened on the way to the DNC. I don't mean this DNC. I don't mean the DNC where Obama was nominated as president of the United States. I don't even mean the DNC where Obama gave his speech as a state senator. When I say a funny thing happened on the way to the DNC, it could be a funny thing happened on the way to the RNC. But it has so much to do with the change, the complications, and for lack of a better word, the complexity of modern day American politics. It's hard to watch the DNC and people celebrating and having good feelings and good vibes, and I don't dismiss that. You are, of course, entitled to those. But to know in the city of Chicago, you had a lot of pro-Palestinian protesters who are out in mass trying to state their case for the United States to stop their engagement with Israel in regards to how things have rolled out since October the 7th. And I took all of that in. But I was on, social media, not really social media. I don't buy newspapers anymore because you can't really find a newspaper stand. You can go on and read newspapers or anything. But there was a thing, and I think I want to bring this up because I said it's a funny thing that happened on the way to the DNC. Tomorrow, barring any craziness, tomorrow Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, will accept the nomination to be the president of the United States from the Democratic Party. Everybody knows this. 60 years ago, a woman named Fannie Lou Hamer, look her up, civil rights icon, Fannie Lou Hamer, 60 years ago, she was denied a seat in a delegation for the Democratic National Convention 60 years ago. Lyndon Johnson was the president, Hubert Humphrey was the VP, but she was denied. And Hubert Humphrey is quoting and saying, President Johnson doesn't want that illiterate woman on the floor. It's not that she was talking or giving a speech. He said he didn't want that illiterate woman on the floor. It may be true that Fannie Lou Hamer was illiterate, but 60 years ago, that was common. In the South produced illiterate African Americans as a byproduct of poor schools, as a byproduct of making young kids have to work in the field, as a byproduct of making sure that the whole idea of an entrepreneurial dream or aspiration will be crushed young. Fannie Lou Hamer is a hero. She won't be talked about in this convention. And the reason is because people were going to look at Fannie Lou Hamer and say, well, what do we have in Kamala Harris? Now, let me put out here and be fully transparent. Inshallah, I'm going to have him on the show. The VP for the Green Party, Dr. Bilal Ware, is a friend of mine. Full transparency. I've asked him to come on the show. He's agreed to do so. But the historical narrative of these two parties, even of independent parties, does not bode well for Black people and other people of color. These conventions remind me, I don't know about you, but they remind me in a deep, dark place, and this is just being honest, that I've never had the experience to be fully vested in someone who doesn't look like me. That Kamala Harris, in many regards, she doesn't look like me. Donald Trump doesn't look like me. Just they don't look like me. Because the narrative that we have is a very much a day-to-day narrative. You know, it's a difference between having a career track and just having a life track. Let me say it again. A career track and having a life track. That being middle class, brothers and sisters, or being rich, brothers and sisters, does not absolve you from the fact that there may be people who are doing worse than you. And it's not that they're doing worse than you because they're lazy. It's not that they're doing worse for you because they have problems or lack of ambition. It's just that it's so hard at a particular level to break through. And let me drill down this whole idea of breaking through. Because, you know, Hillary Clinton talked about breaking through a glass ceiling. Let me tell you something. You know, my grandfather, who I love dearly, told me when I was young, he said, you know, boy, whatever you do, get yourself some skills or something. He said, because I can't find in my imagination any white man going to really want to hire you. That was my introduction to being an entrepreneur. That what I was talking about or what I was saying, and I'm sure it's the case with many of you out there, that your skills and your visions far outvalue the things that are around you. And the day-to-day tussle is somehow to comport yourself to be that person, to be able to be workable in these situations. If I have a 10 personality, I got to be a 5 to make sure that everybody else is comfortable. If I'm an alpha, I got to be a beta to make sure everybody else around me is comfortable. And it goes against just the natural laws of man that if you're brilliant, you're meant to be brilliant. If you're amazing, you're meant to be amazing. And so, as Michelle Obama said, it's not for us to be small or to make ourselves small. And let me tell you, last night, as I watched the DNC and I heard about the RNC, I was like, American politics for a lot of us, because we don't believe in the people who are trying to represent us, the byproduct is to believe in these folks, we have to make ourselves small. Word. You got to swallow crow. It's hard for me to see Bernie Sanders talk about Palestine in a very, very hushed and rushed tone. Okay? It's hard for me to watch Michelle Obama. It's hard for me to watch Barack Obama. In some regards, use code words to talk about struggle and being equal, knowing what's going on in Palestine, knowing what's going on in Yemen, knowing what's going on in the Congo, all these areas, as a matter of fact, that have been affected by American imperialism going way, way back to the slave ships, going way, way back. And it's not just slavery, it's the taking of natural resources, it's the toppling of democratically elected governments. It's all these things. That we have a conversation and joy with this administration, knowing that they just signed off on what, $20 billion worth of military armament for Israel. What do you think they're going to do with it? Meanwhile, these governments that play, I got a big brother so I can act out on the world, they play out because they believe that whatever they do, the United States has their back. The United States government has their back, but the United States people don't have their back. And therein lies the rub. Why are they not representing the will of the people? Now, we said this before, and it's not for me to tell you not to go out and vote. Yes, vote. Because it's literally the only thing you can do in the hopes of being able to change the situation. Someone asked me about a ceasefire. They said, "Preach, what about a ceasefire?" I said, ceasefire sounds like since when? Since when? There's never been a ceasefire in Palestine. It's just that the politics change and the players change and people found advantage, if you will. They found advantage in not one group not oppressing another. That's the facts. You got to do your homework. We sit here and talk about this DNC and RNC and these independent parties. Meanwhile, you say, what else can Israel do to F with all the people in Palestine and Gaza? Be careful what you wish for. They stopped taking shekels. They're not taking their money anymore, which means that the people who are in Gaza, they can't buy goods. They can't buy food. They can't buy items that make life livable. They can't buy items to trade with because now the money is not being accepted. Will that come up tonight? Will Bill Clinton talk about it tonight? No. And as much as I love Barack Obama, brother, you're not president anymore. You're never going to be president again. Say what you need to say. I'm going to give some shout outs to Michelle Obama because she laid it out yesterday. She laid it out. And I'm going to give her a pass because you know what? She never really wanted to be a part of this political system. But guess what? Her husband's in the game and she's a cog too. But she asked for decency. She asked for decency and accountability. Here's the game, folks. People will come and protest at the DNC and the Democratic Party and all of that. But hey, man, game recognizes game. The only reason you'll do that is because you think this is the group you can do it with. Nobody protested at the RNC. Everybody at the RNC said that Israel is correct. Nobody protested him. They didn't need to put up barriers around Milwaukee. There were no protests, but small protests. There was no real protests. You hear what I'm saying? And the constant play out of this drama in theater is sickening over and over and over again. Because we began to realize in a very, very subtle way, 60 years ago, as of Thursday, 60 years ago, a black woman wasn't allowed to sit with her delegation, an integrated delegation, because the president at the time, you know who I'm talking about, the president at the time, Lyndon B. Johnson, said he didn't want that illiterate woman sitting there. She had more to say than he had to say. She had more to say than all the delegates had to say. Her story of being arrested, her story of being beaten by other black prisoners, her story of having to walk, her story of, not being able to have kids as a result of her injuries. These things, brothers and sisters, are what we forget. And in forgetting them, we do Fannie Lou Hamer and a generation just like her a disservice. Nobody wants to talk about the past because they realize the past is the present. That nobody resolved anything. You just put it in a new wrapper. Let me tell you something. If you put a bow tie on a turd, it's still a turd. It just got a bow tie. Be careful. Be careful. Because this is the generation now. I'm 57. This is the generation now where we start looking up and our heroes, they aren't there anymore. So there's no more Dick Gregory. They put Jesse Jackson out there, but he's full on Parkinson's. He ain't got that fire. They don't invite the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for anything. Shout out to Ma'am Talib Sharif Masjid Muhammad for giving that prayer, but they ain't bringing nobody else. They're not bringing anybody else. I think last week I told everybody you should listen to Gil Scott-Heron's song, B Movie, especially for an election period, B Movie. And you'll understand that as you watch the elections, this candidate got 5 million, this candidate got 7 million. How many people are there here in the United States? That the voting population that actually comes out represent a very, very small fraction of the American population. And that people brag that we had this amount of people come out, listen, American politics is not about American politics. It's not about American population. It's about getting people to the polls on that day. And that day that you get people to the polls, whoever wins that day is allowed to say, this is the way it's been, this is the way it's supposed to be. That we have a mandate, if you will, to do the things we want to do. The state of Texas, we have a mandate to lock up doctors that give abortion. We have a mandate to put immigrants on a bus and ship them to blue states. We have a mandate to do all that. You see, this is the thing. This is the thing. And I'm going to shout this out to my mentor, Dick Gregory, who said years ago at Kansas State University, we were doing a leadership conference of Black student union organizations in the Big 12. And we talked about Hillary Clinton. This is years before, she wasn't even a senator, but they were talking about her being a president. And he said, let me give you game. He said, she'll never be president. She'll never be president. I asked him why. He said, because she's a Jewish woman. He said, and then she's a white woman. A Jewish woman and a white woman. I look at Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is part black. Kamala Harris is part Asian, and it started me thinking about America. And my thoughts about America is America had 8 years of Barack Obama, and it was probably the most turbulent 8 years that we've ever had in the political cycle. That when Barack Obama won the first time, people thought it was a fluke. And then when he won the second time, is that people were damn near suicidal. people apostatized. They were saying, God's not real, because if God was real, he wouldn't give me this Negro another 4 years. But now we have somebody who's black and a woman. Say it again, black and a woman with a Jewish husband. I'm going to tell you something, fellas. I don't want to say the fix is in, but if you know America like I know America, America ain't into breaking trends like that. It's not. And I sat there earlier today when I was running on the track, and I said, everything is set up to make sure Kamala Harris doesn't win. And when I say that, I'm not saying that she's not talented. I'm not saying she's not going to campaign. I'm talking about the process being fixed. All right. So let me give a shout out. Yeah. Brother Lee Clark. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing, Brother Lee? You got big brother, or little brother, JT, Johnny L. Thomas. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, beloved. My main man, Eric Carter from South Kakalaki. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me get to the Instagram family. Oh, we got a lot on Instagram. Ndidi, my sister Ndidi, how you doing? Good to see you. Ndidi works. She's a fabulous consultant working in the city of Chicago, doing major things from Masjid Muhammad. Of course, we got Sister Zatana, Sister Nia Malika Dixon, if you will. But she was the director and one of the producers on, of course, Love Supreme Anatomy of Gratitude. Janaid Sheikh, what's up? That's so Lexi T, what's up? Sajid Madney, what's up? I'm Rahman, my main man from Sydney, Australia, brother. Melbourne, I'm sorry. Melbourne, Australia, one of the top political comics out there. You got to go to his web. Go to Amr Rahman and look on Instagram. He's got a ton of stuff on there. You're going to love him. Amr, I got to get you on the show too, man, because I'm interested now. I saw your stuff on Biden. I really want to know, did you think that they would flip the script like this? Because, Democrats, not terribly original. Kama Kazmi, how you doing? Mr. Lamont King from Washington, D.C. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Good to see you. Very funny comedian. Big Out Kareem, what's up? Ashida Abdullahi, how you doing? My main man Zane Patel. What's up, Zane? Zane is moving and shaking the city of Houston, but it's also a good friend of mine. See, Anna Hassan, how you doing? And Zoe Malik. All right, I think we got everybody. So let me cut to the chase, brothers and sisters. Because somebody asked me my prediction. If by some chance Kamala Harris wins, I believe the deep spiritual disruption and dysfunction that's been rooted up underneath her for the last 8 years, last 12 years, I think it's going to erupt. Because I don't think that psychologically people can handle the fact that God's in control. Did I say that right? I don't think that people can emotionally, spiritually handle the fact that God's in control. Because when I look at the Trumpers and Magna, it is the definition of there is no God except Donald Trump. On the Democratic side, the idea of losing so much to do with the fact that you didn't really put in the best work that you could, that you took things for granted, that when people talked about Palestine, you played the game. When people don't want a ceasefire, damn a ceasefire, damn arms embargo. We just want peace. I want children to be able to go to school and not have to worry about being shot. I want people to be able to trade fairly. I want people to be able to have just peace and security when they go outside of their houses. I don't want the animal shot. I don't want the fruit poison. You see what I'm saying? All these things tell you, not that I'm right, but I'm aware. And not that I'm aware, but you're aware too. My name is Preacher Moss. This is a shout out show. God bless you. And see you next week. Shout out to everybody that's out there that's conscious. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you next time.